Carl Jung discovered that there is a moment when everything changes, the moment you realize you are not the mask you show to the world. Think about it. Every morning, before you step out into the world, you put on something invisible. Not just clothes, not just makeup, but a face, a mask. The confident professional who knows every answer in the meeting. The cheerful friend who always smiles, even when their chest feels heavy. The polite neighbor who says, "I'm doing great," while inside they feel empty. Jung called this invisible face the persona. It is the version of you that society accepts, the role you perform so you can belong, succeed, and be loved. And in many ways, it protects you. Without it, community would feel almost impossible. We need the persona to function in the social world. But here is where Jung's warning strikes deep. When you mistake the mask for your entire identity, you begin to live a life that doesn't feel like yours. You start existing only in performance, and in the quiet moments, when no one is watching, you feel that strange emptiness, as if your soul has been left behind. Imagine this. At work, you're known as the reliable one. You never miss a deadline. You always pick up the extra task. You smile when you're overwhelmed, and maybe people even admire you for it. But when you're alone, you feel drained, like an actor who has played the same role for so long they've forgotten who they are off stage. That's the danger of the persona. It gives you approval, but it costs you authenticity. It hides you, even from yourself. And the longer you wear it, the more you forget that beneath it lives something deeper. Jung called this deeper reality the self, the true center of your psyche. The self is not a role, not an act, not a performance. It is the wholeness of who you are, the essence that longs for freedom. And here is the paradox. The more tightly you cling to the mask, the further you drift from the self. Maybe you've felt it before. You walk out of a party where you entertained everyone with jokes and stories. The moment you close the door behind you, silence hits like a wave. You feel empty. Not sad, not angry, just hollow, as if life is happening on the surface, but not touching your depths. That quiet discomfort is the self, reminding you, the mask is not enough. In American culture, this mask is everywhere. On social media, where lives are curated into highlight reels. At work, where corporate smiles hide exhaustion. Even in family gatherings, where you're pressured to play the strong one, the responsible one, or the easygoing one. And slowly, almost without noticing, you lose track of who you really are. Carl Jung believed this was one of the greatest sources of human suffering. When you confuse your persona with your true essence, you cut yourself off from your own soul. You meet expectations but neglect your deepest needs. You appear successful but secretly feel like a stranger in your own life. But Jung also offered hope. The persona is not evil. It is simply incomplete. It is a mask you must sometimes wear, just like an actor wears costumes. The danger is not in wearing the costume, but in forgetting that you can take it off. So let me ask you, how often do you confuse the mask with your real face? How often do you mistake approval for love or performance for purpose? Jung taught that individuation, the path to wholeness, begins when you dare to see the mask. The moment you recognize, this role I play is not the whole truth of me, and that recognition alone is powerful, because the moment you see the mask, it no longer has total power over you. So here's the invitation. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, what mask do I wear most often? Is it the achiever, the pleaser, the strong one? The mask is not bad, Balaam, but it is not all of you. And if you can see it even for a second, you've already taken the first step toward freedom. Jung believed awareness itself is the doorway, because when you see the mask, you are no longer trapped inside it. If this resonates with you, write it below. I see my mask, not as a slogan, but as a declaration, a small, powerful ritual of self-awareness. Sometimes naming the mask is the first act of taking it off. Imagine this. It's Monday morning in an American office. The fluorescent lights hum overhead, coffee machines hiss in the background, and people shuffle in carrying laptops, mugs, and the weight of their weekends. You take your seat at the long table in the conference room. Everyone greets you the same way they always do. You're the reliable one. We know you'll keep this project on track. You smile, you nod, you straighten your back, and slip into the role that's been assigned to you, the reliable one. The mask fits so tightly now you can barely feel its edges. You speak with confidence, even though your chest is tight. You laugh at a joke you don't find funny. You agree to stay late again, because that's what people expect. On the surface, nothing looks wrong. You're successful, you're respected. People admire how dependable you are. But inside, there's a quiet ache. You feel like a character in a play, performing lines that someone else wrote. And when the meeting ends, you walk back to your desk and wonder, do they like me, or just the version of me I'm selling? This is the experience of the persona at its peak. On the outside, everything looks polished. On the inside, you feel a strange disconnection, as if your soul is one step behind your body. Carl Jung often described this phenomenon as living in service of the mask. It's not that the mask is wrong. In fact, it protects you in the social world. But when the mask becomes too rigid, it begins to suffocate the self. Think about the way social media amplifies this. Online, you post the version of yourself that gets likes. The smiling vacation photo, the gym progress picture, the clever tweet. Little by little, that online persona becomes its own character, a digital mask. And then one day, scrolling through your own profile, you wonder, is this me, or just a curated echo of me? The same thing happens in families. Maybe you were always the strong one growing up, the sibling who held everything together, the child who never caused problems. That mask gave you love and approval. But now, as an adult, it follows you like a shadow. Even when you feel weak, you don't allow yourself to show it. Because the mask whispers, if you break character, they won't love you the same way. And in relationships, the persona can become even more suffocating. You might play the easygoing partner who never complains, even when your needs aren't being met. Or the achiever who works endlessly to impress, while hiding the exhaustion that comes with constant striving. The mask promises connection, but in truth, it builds a wall between who you are and who you show. Jung compared this to an actor trapped on stage. The audience claps, the critics praise the performance, but behind the curtain, the actor is silently collapsing. When the mask becomes your entire life, you're no longer acting, you are imprisoned. And yet, here's the paradox. You may not even notice the prison bars, because the persona brings rewards, respect, praise, promotions, followers, approval. It's like being fed with candy, sweet in the moment, but leaving you hollow in the long run. That's why Jung urged us to notice the moments when the mask cracks. Those flashes when you snap at someone unexpectedly, or when you come home after a long day, drop the smile and collapse into silence. Or when you secretly envy people who seem free to be messy, imperfect, authentic. Those cracks are the voice of the self breaking through, reminding you that the mask isn't the whole story. Picture this. After that long Monday at work, you drive home, windows rolled up, radio off. The city lights blur past, but inside the car, it's just you. For the first time all day, you don't have to perform, and suddenly you feel tears sting your eyes. Not from sadness, but from relief. Relief that, in the quiet, you can finally breathe without the mask. Carl Jung believed these moments are sacred, because they are invitations to see the persona for what it is, a useful tool, but not your essence, a role, but not your soul. So the question becomes, do you dare to listen when the cracks appear? Do you dare to let the mask slip even for a moment and meet the self behind it? Carl Jung taught that freedom begins the moment you stop reacting mechanically, and when it comes to the persona, freedom starts when you learn to notice the mask, loosen its grip, and allow space for the self to breathe. The truth is, we cannot throw away the persona completely. You need it. It's the part of you that helps you function at work, meet people, and live in society. But the key is this: the mask should serve you, not imprison you. Here are 4 practical steps to begin this process. First, recognize the mask. The very first step is awareness. You cannot change what you cannot see. Start by asking yourself simple questions. What role do I play most often? What image do I feel pressured to maintain? Who am I afraid of disappointing if I show my real feelings? For some, the answer is the achiever, the one who must always succeed. For others, it's the caretaker, the one who must always put others first. Maybe for you, it's the strong one, never allowed to break. Jung believed that naming these masks already loosens their power. When you say, "I'm wearing the mask of the pleaser right now," you've already created distance between the act and your essence. Second, create space between role and identity. Once you recognize the mask, the next step is to remember, I am more than this role. This is where reflection comes in. Try journaling about your day, but instead of writing what you did, write which mask you wore. Did you perform the expert in a meeting? Did you play the calm parent at dinner while inside you were restless? Separating your experience into mask and self helps you reclaim perspective. You realize, I'm not trapped. I'm choosing, consciously or unconsciously, to wear this face. And if it is a choice, then another choice is possible. Third, experiment with authenticity. Carl Jung encouraged people to integrate, not destroy, the persona. This means learning when to wear it and when to take it off. One way to practice is through small, safe experiments. At work, instead of always saying yes, try expressing a boundary. I'd love to help, but I'm at capacity right now. In friendships, instead of always being the entertainer, try sharing something vulnerable, like, I've actually been struggling this week. These moments may feel uncomfortable at first, but notice what happens. Often, people don't reject you. They respect you more, because authenticity, even in small doses, creates real connection. Finally, reconnect with the self. The persona is the mask. The self is the soul. Jung believed that the goal of individuation, becoming whole, is to keep the two in balance. To reconnect with the self, you need silence and honesty. Try moments of solitude without performance, walking without your phone, journaling without editing, even sitting quietly and asking yourself, what am I really feeling right now? Some people reconnect through creativity, painting, music, writing, others through nature, others through therapy or dream work. What matters is not the method, but the intention to step away from the stage and meet yourself behind the curtain. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And that privilege begins the moment you stop confusing the mask with the self. So here is your challenge for this week. First, name the mask you wear most often. Second, notice when it appears in your daily life. Third, practice one small act of authenticity, even if it scares you. Finally, reflect on how it feels when the mask cracks and the self shines through. And then watch. Notice how it feels. Notice how people respond. Notice the small, liberating cracks in the mask. If this message resonates with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, not just to support this channel, but because every story we tell together keeps the wisdom of Carl Jung alive in our modern world. Carl Jung believed that the persona was never meant to be destroyed. It is not the enemy, it is simply incomplete. Without it, we could not function in society, but when we confuse the mask for the whole of who we are, something essential gets lost. Our soul, our wholeness, our ability to live authentically. This is not just a personal problem, it is a cultural one. Think of the way American society is structured. Constant emphasis on productivity, achievement, and image. From early childhood, we are taught to wear masks. At school, you're rewarded for being the good student. On the sports field, you're admired for being the winner. In adulthood, success is measured in job titles, salaries, Instagram followers. Everywhere you look, there are roles to play, expectations to meet. The danger, Jung warned, is that we forget we are playing. We forget there is a self behind the stage performance. And when an entire culture forgets, the result is epidemic, anxiety, depression, burnout. The silent question that haunts so many lives: is this all there is? In relationships, the mask shapes the way we connect. If you are wearing your persona and your partner is wearing theirs, what happens? Two masks meet, but the true souls remain hidden. The relationship looks fine from the outside, but inside, both people may feel unseen, unheard, untouched. Jung taught that real intimacy begins only when the masks begin to crack, when two people dare to show their imperfections, their struggles, their raw humanity. And what about families? How many parents feel pressured to play the perfect mom or the strong dad, never admitting their own fears or exhaustion? How many children feel forced into roles they did not choose? The responsible one, the troublemaker, the achiever, and carry those masks into adulthood, mistaking them for identity. The persona does not only shape individuals, it shapes generations. Even in our collective life, the persona is everywhere. Politicians wear it to appear flawless. Corporations wear it in glossy advertising campaigns. Influencers wear it online, carefully curating a life that may not exist when the camera is off. And we as a society consume these masks so often that we sometimes forget to ask, what is real? Jung's answer was radical. The real is the self. The self is the deeper center, the wholeness that holds all opposites, light and shadow, strength and weakness, success and failure. To live from the self is not to abandon the persona, but to place it in its proper role. The mask becomes a tool, not a prison. You can wear it when needed, but you no longer confuse it with your essence. This is the work of individuation. It is not about rejecting society, but about moving through it consciously. It is not about escaping responsibility, but about embracing it with authenticity. When you live from the self, you can go to work, raise a family, use social media, but you do it with awareness. You know which part is mask and which part is real. And here lies the deeper transformation Jung pointed to. Every time you recognize the mask, you reclaim a piece of yourself. Every moment of honesty, admitting you're tired instead of pretending you're fine, expressing a boundary instead of always saying yes, showing vulnerability instead of hiding behind perfection, is an act of liberation. You are telling your psyche, I am not only my role, I am more. When individuals take this step, society changes too. Imagine workplaces where people can admit mistakes without fear. Imagine families where parents can say, I don't have all the answers, but I love you. Imagine relationships where both partners can be fully human without hiding behind performance. Jung believed that the journey inward always ripples outward. The mask you set down becomes a gift to others because it gives them permission to do the same. One person's authenticity becomes an invitation for another's. And slowly, a culture of masks can begin to soften. So here is the deeper reflection. The persona is not your enemy, it is your servant. It is the face you show to the world, but never the whole of who you are. True maturity is not about destroying the mask, but about holding it lightly, knowing you can remove it when the self calls you back. Carl Jung once said that every role we play, every adaptation we make, every mask we wear, is also a mirror. Each one reflects a piece of us that is waiting to be integrated. So when you see the persona, do not judge it. Recognize it. Honor it for the protection it gave you. And then gently, courageously, return to the self. because in the end, the greatest freedom is not found in applause or approval or the perfect mask. It is found in wholeness. And that wholeness is already inside you, waiting for the moment you dare to step beyond the stage. Carl Jung taught that the journey of individuation is not about destroying the persona, nor about rejecting the world. The persona has always served a purpose. It allowed you to survive in society, to find your place among others, to navigate work, family, and community. But the mistake comes when you believe the mask is all that you are. When you begin to see the persona clearly, something inside shifts. You realize you have been carrying roles like costumes, the achiever, the peacemaker, the strong one. And for years you may have mistaken the costume for your skin. Yet, deep down, there has always been more, a self waiting quietly beneath the performance. This recognition is subtle, but it changes everything. It means you can walk into your workplace and wear the mask of professionalism without confusing it for your identity. It means you can step into family gatherings, play the role that is expected, but still know that your essence runs deeper. It means you can share your life online without needing to polish away your humanity. You hold the mask lightly. You no longer cling to it as if it defines you, and that is freedom. The freedom to take a breath when no one is watching and know, I am still whole. The freedom to admit your exhaustion, your doubts, your vulnerabilities, and realize that none of these diminish you. The freedom to step off the stage and rest in the silence of your own being. Jung believed that individuation, the path to wholeness, is not about discarding the persona, but about placing it in its rightful place. You can use it when needed, like a tool. But it is no longer your prison. The applause of others becomes pleasant, but not necessary. Approval feels good, but it no longer defines your worth. And here lies the true transformation. When you stop confusing the mask with the self, you return to your essence. You discover that what you longed for was never hidden in the roles, the titles, the performances. It was waiting in the quiet, beneath the layers, in the still center of your soul. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And that is the invitation you carry forward, to stop living as a performance and to start living as a whole being. Not perfect, not polished, whole. So as you leave this reflection, I want to invite you into a simple practice. Close your eyes for a moment and take a breath. Feel the mask you wear most often. See it clearly, and then gently whisper to yourself, "This is not all of me." Because every time you recognize the mask, you open the door to something deeper. And every time you return to the self, you step closer to the freedom Jung spoke of, the freedom of becoming whole. If this resonates with you, let your final words be simple. I choose wholeness. Not as a phrase to repeat, but as a quiet declaration to yourself. A reminder that the mask is not your identity, and that the journey toward the self has already begun.